So before we begin, I would just like to shout out my patrons, Dudley Reiner, Crimson, Ten, Consular, Nude Banner, Jonah Rodriguez, and Damakis Whitewood. I'm very much grateful for your support, and if any of you want to support me on Patreon, you can always find the link in the description below. Hey guys, I'm Naya, and welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, I decided to do the recap of the European Championship. Obviously, it happened yesterday and the day before. A couple interesting things happened, and we're gonna talk about all of that. We're gonna talk about some very spicy tech cards from the tournament, and you probably know which ones I'm talking about already, but we're also going to go over a couple deck lists. And yeah, please let me know if you were maybe at the European Championship. How did it go for you? How do you feel the event was organized? Did you have a good time? All of that, let me know down in the comments. And also, what do you sort of expect to happen to the format now that we have actually seen a big event, the first big event with the Power of the Elements Legal as well? So to start things off, we're going to be talking about the obvious thing, which is, of course, that Rika Sanavalon won the entire thing, which, of course, is an impressive result, and especially with a deck like this. So I have the deck list pulled up over here, and a couple of important things to know would definitely be, to start things off, you know, Mystic Mine, Rivalry. I won't spend too much time, but definitely it's something that has obviously put in work. And now, since we're on the topic of Mystic Mine, the deck actually has a Mystic Mine out with Rika Glamour, because you're able to get rid of your monsters for mine to get destroyed. So yeah, the entire thing just looks very, very clean. It looks like it's obviously working to perfection. And this entire deck, it's not just Mystic Mine and Rivalry. Obviously, it's able to combo and sort of play around multiple hand traps, not just because of what the deck is able to do, but I think people are also very unprepared for it. If you don't know what it's doing, you won't really know where to disrupt it. So all in all, you know, an amazing showing for this deck. And like, just looking at it, you know, there's no hand traps, so there's nothing to really clog your hands. You just have a couple board breakers, which in my opinion are the way to go moving forward. So you have those Dark Rulers and the Talents, also good card going second, and then naturally the Mystic Mine. And looking at the side deck real quick, nothing too like out of the ordinary. Pankratops, I think, is an amazing addition to pretty much any side deck. I think it's very, very strong, especially in something like a Sprite matchup if they don't put up Dupe Frog. And yeah, like a Pointer, I think, is also a really, really good choice, especially for a combo deck where something like a Lava Golem or a Sphere Mode would just completely end you. So yeah, just amazing. Like, none of us really expected this. And also, the winner is not the only player piloting this deck and actually seeing some good results with it. So most definitely it's a deck, if you're not going to be playing it, at least look into it to see sort of what's going on, what the combos are, how to disrupt it, and just how to play against it. So moving on, the second place deck list, we also should have somewhere over here. Yeah. And this is also a very interesting thing to talk about, because how Tier Limit evolved with this championship, like it's sort of insane. Just looking at how people sort of went for this combo route, it's amazing to see. It just brings me back to like 2019 and all of those dark combo decks. Somewhere around that time at least. And yeah, just looking at the deck, pretty much all of the deck lists are quite similar. We're gonna go through them, but for the most part, there's Dangers. There's also Curious, naturally, and you have Snow, you have Gizmek even, and some players even played Zephyros. So there's a lot of amazing combo stuff to do with this deck. No hand traps, just going second cards in the form of Super Polymerization, which Karura, I'm sure, is putting in work. Obviously, it's not the only thing you summon in a fusion deck like Tier Limit, but as a Super Poly target, I think it's amazing, and we've seen it a lot. And there's also this one Galaxy Cyclone in the main that can be milled. That's a Mystic Mine out, which inherently Tier Limit is struggling with that. So I think it's awesome to see someone. Actually, a lot of players played it, so I think it's awesome to see people being mindful of something like Mystic Mine, which is essentially an inherent out to this deck, and actually thinking about this and just including something like Galaxy Cyclone. You have Dark Ruler, there's Desires also, so like maximum consistency, all of the dangers, and it's amazing. Like, just looking at people pilot this deck on stream was incredible. And I think it's obvious that this version is the one with the highest ceiling. And it was honestly a joy to watch some of the players play it and just do so well and make these amazing plays utilizing stuff like Zeroboros and just Dugares even. Like it was wild, and it was really cool to see. And as for the side deck, you have Deck Devastation Virus. I think it's an important tech for right now. Also Sphere Mode, again we see Pankratops, so a couple of things are going to sort of become reoccurring. There was also a version I've seen on stream that utilized Punk as well, so it's maybe not that necessary if you look at some other deck lists, but I think Punk most definitely is something that is able to push any deck above the edge, so that's also really cool. And the next topic of discussion is naturally going to be Beat Cop, because like this was just a sort of tech, you could say, that really caught us off guard on stream. And like, I don't know, there really isn't much to say. You use Beat Cop to protect that Mystic Mine at all costs. You get rid of the actual Beat Cop, so you have no more monsters on the field if you linked into it. And Mystic Mine has to be destroyed twice, which Tearlament won't be able to do with the one Galaxy Cyclone in the main. So it's a cheesy tech, it's a funny tech, but it works. It's smart, and there's really not much to say about it. I guess Mystic Mine is a topic in itself, which I won't really get into, but I figured it would be interesting to mention the Beat Cop, and yeah, like, do with that what you will, but it was just funny to see, honestly. And obviously the next thing is going to be Altergeist. Like, at one point, it was so funny to watch the stream when people were they were cheering for Altergeist, for Mystic Mine, for the metaverse being flipped. It was wild, and it was so interesting to see a deck like this do well, especially how I always bash on it, which, you know, it's not really important right now, but I never saw potential in it. I don't think it's that strong. Looking at the actual Altergeist portion, I think there are stronger trap decks still, but if you build it in a way that the top 4 player will, and we're looking at the deck list right now, built it has to work, right? Because it's so Mystic Mine reliant. And I think it's amazing to see something like Lava Golem even being mained, because naturally a trap deck is going to struggle going second. So this entire deck just seems like a lot of time and effort went into actually building the perfect deck list. And yeah, just it seems to work. Honestly, not much to say about it. You know, very Mystic Mine focused. You have Gamma and Lava Golem for going second. You naturally have the Faker and the Impermanence Faker thing that we also saw on stream. There's Shifter in the side deck. Amazing in the Tearlament matchup. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, also a tech I'm a huge fan of. There's Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and just everything just it seems really well thought out in this deck, and you know, not much to say. They made it to top 4, which is an incredible result, especially for a deck like this. And before we get into the deck breakdown, because we have the top 8 deck breakdown and a couple deck lists, I also wanted to mention, to sort of hear your thoughts in the comment section. Like, there was no Sword Soul. I mean, I'm talking about like on stream and actually talked about. No Sword Soul, no Despia, no Adventure Synchro. No Pure Punk as well. And a lot of these decks, which definitely saw amazing results in the last couple of weeks, they just sort of fell off. And it was interesting to see, not something that's really unexpected, because like I said, this was the first event with Power of the Elements, but just the sheer amount of people playing Sprite or Tearlament, you know, and nobody really picked up the other decks, at least from what we've seen. We haven't had any bigger breakdown, which would be really nice with the top 32 and 64 to actually see if any of those decks made it and what decks actually made it to top 128 and so on. But from what we've seen, at least on stream, really nothing was mentioned when it comes to Swords of Despia, Adventure Synchro, and I would say these decks are slowly getting power crept. People didn't really just turn to those decks, but they, I guess, decided to play other ones. And actually, like, Tearlament is scary and it's stronger, and Sprite is consistent and it's strong, but still, it was kind of sad to see those decks not seeing play. But yeah, what can you do? So yeah, we're gonna go through the top 8 breakdown just really quickly. You have Sprite, Tearlament, Altergeist, Rika, 50% Sprite actually, so 4 Sprites, and then the other decks. So yeah, like Rika was a surprise Ultragast as well. So I think that's why the entire just this energy of people watching, you know, when they were cheering on stream, and it was this huge wave of just surprise at which decks are actually doing well. So it was really fun to watch. And yeah, to round things off, we're just going to go through a couple deck lists to sort of touch upon a couple things. So we have the top 8 deck list with Sprite, and it's actually Sprite Adventure, which, you know, some people play it that way, some people play it kind of a bit more pure. And the top 4 deck list, I think, has Evo Twins, so we're gonna go through that as well. But yeah, Sprite stuff is kind of standard at this point. They decided to play the Nimble stuff, also Adventure, and there's Super Poly in the main deck. Just Super Poly is amazing. It's becoming such a staple. And for the most part, that's kind of it. Nothing really out of the ordinary. You have Red Resonator in the side deck, so together with the Psychic Life Chancer, those are a couple cards that are important. I'm not going to be getting into this entire like end of match procedure discussion, because I genuinely don't think that such discussions are important when you really can't change anything. So I guess it's just a smart thing to do to sort of adjust, play those kinds of cards if you can afford them, not actually just do stupid stuff and cheat and get into time. That's insane. But if you need to play a couple cards to not lose in time, there's nothing wrong with that. So that's an important distinction people should have. But overall, just these time cards just have this negative sphere surrounding them, so I don't really like getting into that. So yeah, top 8 we have Sprite again, very, very standard. Enemy Controller is a really cool tech in the main deck, and I've heard a lot about Enemy Controller throughout the tournament, so it's cool to see a deck list doing well that actually includes it. There's Prosperity as well. If I'm not mistaken, the other list didn't play, yeah, of course they didn't play like Desires, and they also didn't play Prosperity, so there's that. Nothing else that's that important. Top 128, again, this dark Tearlament deck. No Punk, but they do have pretty much almost the same build. Okay, so there's top 4 Sprite that has Evo Twin cards in it as well. Like, you can play whichever version you want, and I'm definitely sure that this person tested their version, even though it's that different from the other ones. But they also played hand traps, so for the most part, you see going second cards, you see super polymerization and stuff like that, but they decided to play hand traps. And we're actually going to go over another deck list that decided to play hand traps, and it's Metmech. But let's get through the other ones first. Okay, so we have 128 placing off Flunder. So the entire deck list is very standard, but they did play Salesman. And from listening to the deck profile, they said that it's basically to call for a hand trap that you won't be able to play through, or around, I should say, with the hand that you draw. So if you see Shifter and if you see some other things to play around a couple specific ones, then you're able to call something like Impermanence. Or also they said going second, you just call the name of a card that you really don't want to deal with for that turn. So yeah, it's an interesting tech. And the other one I would want to mention is Book of Moon, because against Sprite is incredible, and Book of Moon has sort of like went in and out when it comes to like Flunder deck lists, but right now I think it's really, really strong. And another sort of out of the ordinary thing would be the Harpies in the main, which they said they played for the mirror match but would swap out. So there's that, if you're maybe building Flunder, so you know that that's not really a thing to be played, I guess, in their opinion. But yeah, moving on, we also have the top 128 Rika. So this one didn't have the Mystic Mine or the Rivalry, but yeah, they did play a lot of hand traps. So this entire format is sort of just you play whatever you really want and whatever you feel like it's fitting, but this is what worked for them. So a lot of hand traps. And then we have the Mathmech deck list that I mentioned. So they play top 64 with Mathmech Adventure. So it's interesting. It's 2 right, 2 Enchantress, but I guess that's maybe more consistent in their opinion, so you don't clog on your stuff, and also to get to clean 40 and also play hand traps and stuff like that, to actually have lines with Small World. I guess it makes sense. But yeah, the Super Factorial, an incredible card, so it's obvious that MathMech did well. So yeah, I think it's nice to see. I think it's a very strong deck and an important part of the metagame right now, and it's really something to look out for. And especially right now, we see this mashup with Adventure, so that's also a build or a version you need to think about. And then we also have the top 16 Dark Tier Limit deck, which this one played Zephyros and it played Gokipo as well. So Gokipo is able to search Mothman, which would be like one of the best dangers for your Danger Tier Limit deck. And yeah, it looks very clean, very similar to the other ones we saw. And then in the side deck, we see the Kurikara, which is actually the first deck list that runs this. Now, I'm not sure how this worked out for them, but they did side it. And we also have this Coalmark Ladybug, again, a time card to gain life. And yeah, the extra deck is sort of standard. You have a Apollousa, you have Zerobora, so a couple interesting link monsters. Also the Beat Cop. But yeah, overall, like, skill drain in the side deck also is interesting to see, especially since it is at 3 and it doesn't seem like it's really doing anything or seeing any kind of play. So with that, I think we're done with the deck lists. Now, I didn't look at the time. Hopefully this video wasn't too long, but there's a lot of things to go over, especially in an event, and I'm sort of repeating myself at this point, but an event with a set that's the first one that actually used this set, because that's going to tell us how the format is going to look like, what to think about, how decks are going to evolve, and what really is looking like to be the best deck moving forward, which, you know, a couple interesting contenders came to light with this event, and all in all, it seemed really interesting, even though we saw a lot of Sprite and Tier Limit on stream, but still, you know, they are very much strong and prevalent decks in the meta right now. And yeah, like I said, please let me know in the comments what you thought of the event, if you watched the stream, if you were maybe there, and of course what you thought of this video. And if you liked it, like it and sub to the channel, check out all of the social media, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.